We continue now at the top of Daf Mem Vav Amud Beis in Meseches Eruvin. This is Eruvin Daf 46b. The Gemara here presents another answer to the question of why do we need to say the halacha is like Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, that if a person is sleeping, that he is Kona Shvisa, he does have 2,000 avos in every direction. And we also need to say that the halacha is like the lenient opinion in Eruvin. It seems like those statements all come to the same point. So Rav Papa says, Itzrich, you need both statements. You might have thought that when we say we're lenient by Eruv, that's only by Eruv Chatzeros. But when it comes to Eruv Tchumen, maybe we're not always lenient. So tzricha. So that's why we need to say that Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri made the statement by Eruvei Techumen. Even over there, we're going to be lenient. Gemara says, why would you say that there's a distinction between Eruvei Chatzeros and Eruvei Techumen? Titzanan, because we learned in the Mishnah, Rabbi Yehuda says, he says, when is this true? Now this is talking about a halacha that you're allowed to make an eruv for a person even if he does not know you're doing it for him. You're doing it on his behalf. That's only true you're not allowed to do it. That's only true that you're not allowed to do it by Eruvei Techumen. Avo by Eruvei Chatzeros, but when it comes to Eruvei Chatzeros, ma'arvin bein ladas ubein shelo ladas. You're allowed to make an eruv for somebody whether he knows you're doing it for him, whether he doesn't know you're doing it for him. Shezachin la'adam shelo b'fanav, because you're allowed to do a merit for somebody when he's not aware of it. Ve'ein chavin la'adam ela b'fanav. But you can't do something that's detrimental to somebody unless he's aware of it, unless it's in front of him. The idea is that by Eruv Techumen, it could be a detriment. We don't know if a person wants an Eruv Techum. Who says he wants to travel to the east? Maybe he wants to travel to the west. But when it comes to an Eruvei Chatzeros, that's always good for a person because it allows him to carry in an area where it was prohibited to carry. So that's why when it comes to Eruvei Chatzeros, it's always a zechus. It's always a benefit. Eruvei Techumen is somewhat not a benefit. That distinction is the same reason why we might make a distinction and say that we're always lenient by Eruvei Chatzeros, but we're not always lenient by Eruvei Techumen. Rav Ashi says, Itzrich, no, we need both statements. He's answering the same question. Why do we need to say the halacha is like the lenient opinion and also say that the halacha is like Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri? I might have thought that when you have an eruv that was made previously and now you have leftover food, that's where we talk about being lenient by eruvin. But when you're setting up an eruv in the first place, which is similar to our situation of Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, so I would say in that case you're not going to be lenient. Where do we see a distinction between a leftover eruv and an original eruv? Tetzanan, because we learned in a Mishnah, Amar Rabbi Yossi says, when is this true? Meaning, when do you need to have a certain shear? Rashi over here says, when do you need a certain amount of food to create a kosher eruv? O mazon shtei seudos bein kulan. Either you need 2 meals worth of food, or you need a grogros worth of food for each individual in the eruv. That's only true when you originally set up the eruv. The Gemara continues, Avo b'shiyurei eruv, but the Mishnah says that when it's shiyurei eruv, meaning when it's left over, afilu kolshu, even any amount is left over is good enough. Rashi says kolshu l'chol echad, any amount left over for each individual participating in the eruv, that's enough. Rashi above here says b'shiyurei eruv sheiniach eruv b'makom hamishtamer l'kama shabbosos. The case over here is you put the food in a certain protected area for multiple shabbosos. V'nismaid ha'ochel, and it deteriorates, it diminishes over time. Mishir bei seudos, becomes less than 2 seudos. Mikilin beilach shure. That's shiurei eruv, where we're lenient and we say as long as you have a kol shehu left for every individual in the eruv, that's going to be good enough. And there you see a distinction between tchilas eruv and shiurei eruv. So if I would have said you're lenient again, if I would have said we're lenient by eruv, and maybe that's only by shiurei eruv, maybe that's not true by tchilas eruv. V'lo amru, the Mishnah here finishes, V'lo amru la'ariv chatzeros. The only reason we even say to create an eruv chatzeros, elo kidei shelo l'shakech Torah's Eruv Minatinokos. The only reason we even make such an Eruv is that the concept of Eruv should not be forgotten by the children. Rashi over here says, V'lo amru la'ariv b'chatzeros elo shelo l'shacheach es hatinokos, shelo l'shkoach Torah's Eruv midoros haboyin. We don't want people to forget about Eruv in the future generations. Aval ikar Eruv b'tchumenhu. The point of the Mishnah in that last line is that the main Eruv really is Eruv Tchumen. Eruv Chatzeros is just something that the Rabbanan enacted that we shouldn't forget about the concept of Eruv, because Eruv Tchumen is more rare. By doing Eruvei Chatzeros, we make it that everyone remembers the concept of Eruv. Even future generations will always know about this concept. The idea being that it's not the Iker Eruv like Eruv Tchumen. Rabbi Yaakov, Rabbi Zreika Amru. Now the Gemara says that Rabbi Yaakov and Rabbi Zreika say general rules. Now we're turning to general principles of who we paskin like when it's one versus another individual, or one person versus a majority. A continuation of the discussion we had before. So Rabbi Yaakov and Rabbi Zreika both say halacha Rabbi Akiva mechavero. The halacha is like Rabbi Akiva anytime he argues with his friend, with an individual. Uch Rabbi Yossi mechaverov. And the halacha is like Rabbi Yossi even if he answers against multiple individuals. Uch Rebbe mechavero. And the halacha is also like Rebbe anytime he argues against an individual. Lamai Hilchasa. The Gemara says, what do we mean to say that the halacha is like these people, like Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Yossi, and Rebbe? Rashi here explains, Lamai Hilchasa, Le'inyan ma nemra shmuazu, shapasku halacha stam b'chol mekomos, yesh lismoch aleh lahoros halacha lamai sakein. Are we saying that this is something that always we publicize, as the Gemara is going to explain in more detail, we publicize this is the halacha everywhere? Or maybe they weren't saying this as a real psak, so to speak, but they were saying from logic. We wouldn't say that we're really going to paskin outright like Rabbi Akiva over his friend in every situation, or Rabbi Yossi in every situation. Gemara will explain in more detail right now. But the Gemara is saying, Lamai Hilchasa, to what extent are we saying these rules? Rabbi Asi Amar Halacha. Rabbi Asi says it is mamish the halacha. The halacha is always like Rabbi Akiva from his friend. Rashi here says, Rabbi Asi Amar Halacha mamish ka'amri Rabbi Yaakov Reb Zreika. Lemigmar ma'isa minei. We can learn from this rule. Umiyavid ka Rabbi Akiva, and we can do like Rabbi Akiva. Heicha diyachid palagala. Anytime a yachid argues on Rabbi Akiva, or Rabbi Yossi, we can follow Rabbi Yossi. Afilu b'makam rabbim. Even if many people argue, this is really the halacha. This is an actual rule. So that's the first opinion. Again, that is Rav Asi's opinion. Rabbi Chia bar Abba Amar Motin. Rabbi Chia bar Abba says we lean in this direction. It doesn't mean the halacha is outright that way. It's just something that we do in the sense that we lean towards that shita. Rashi explains what that means practically. Motin Rabbi Yaakov Rabbi Zreika lav halacha mamish paski. They're not pasking halacha here. Elamotin haura acha Rabbi Yossi. We lean the psak after Rabbi Yossi v'afilu b'makam rabbim, even if there's a majority against him. To uruye morinan la'adam yachid lasos Rabbi Yossi. What that means is, if an individual would ask us what to do, we could say to do like Rabbi Yossi. We would not in public, in a public shir, state that the halacha is like Rabbi Yossi. That's what matan is. So matan is a little bit of a lower level than halacha. We'll tell an individual that this is the case, but we're not going to darshan it publicly. Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Chanina, Amar Nirin. Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Chanina says it appears the halacha is like these individuals. That's an even lower amount. Rashi says Nirin oroi lo marinan. We won't tell anyone to do like this. However, v'imasa Rabbi Yossi. But if somebody does like Rabbi Yossi against the majority, lo mahadrinan uvda. We won't go back on that. That's what Nirin means. So Nirin is the lowest level of paskening like that. Kiloshan hazeh, in this same exact lashon of meaning, the halacha is like that, like this, or maybe we're leaning in that direction, or maybe it appears. So we have the same discussion in a bunch of other rules of Tanoim as follows. Amar Rabbi Yaakov Baridi, Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yaakov Baridi says in the name of Rabbi Yochanan the following rules. And again, we're going to apply the same distinction. Maybe they were saying halacha outright. Maybe they were saying we lean in that direction. Maybe it appears that way, but here are the rules as follows. Rabbi Meir of Rabbi Yehuda, halacha Rabbi Yehuda. First of all, anytime it's Rabbi Meir versus Rabbi Yehuda, the halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda of Rabbi Yossi, halacha Rabbi Yossi. Anytime it's Rabbi Yehuda against Rabbi Yossi, the halacha is like Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Meir of Rabbi Yossi, halacha Rabbi Yossi. We don't even need to say that if it's Rabbi Meir against Rabbi Yossi, certainly we go like Rabbi Yossi. Hashta b'makam Rabbi Yehuda lesa. If Rabbi Meir cannot win against Rabbi Yehuda, b'makam Rabbi Yossi mibai. You don't even need to say against Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi defeats Rabbi Yehuda in psak halacha. He will certainly defeat Rabbi Meir in psak halacha. Amar Ravasi says, Af ani lomid, I teach the following, or I learn the following. Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Shimon, halacha Rabbi Yossi, that if you have Rabbi Yossi against Rabbi Shimon, the halacha follows Rabbi Yossi. The Amar Rabbi Abba, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, because Rabbi Abba said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Yehuda of Rabbi Shimon, halacha Rabbi Yehuda. We know that if it's Rabbi Yehuda against Rabbi Shimon, the halacha follows Rabbi Yehuda. So we know that Rabbi Yehuda beats Rabbi Shimon. So hashta b'makam Rabbi Yehuda lesa. So if Rabbi Shimon loses in psak halacha, it's Rabbi Yehuda, but Malkam Rabbi Yossi mibai. Certainly Rabbi Yossi is going. We're going to pass like Rabbi Yossi over Rabbi Shimon. Ibailu, they ask the following question: Rabbi Meir of Rabbi Shimon Mai. What about Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Shimon? Now, Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Shimon both are. We don't paskin like them against Rabbi Yehuda. We don't paskin like them against Rabbi Yossi, the question is, what about against each other? Teku, that we're going to have to leave as a question. We do not know how to paskin. We don't have a rule for Rabbi Meir versus Rabbi Shimon. Amr Rabbi Misharshia says, Lesnuhu lahani klali. All of these rules are meaningless. They don't mean anything. Rashi over here says, Lahani klali dechalalinan le'el ploni uploni halacha keploni. These rules, this one, we pass like this one. Bechol makom, in all places. That's not true. Elahechad mistaver kemar hilchas kevase. If it's logical, like one opinion, we follow that opinion. Ve'echad mistaver beduch dachrisi kiidach. And if in another case it's more logical to go the other way, avdin and kevase, we go the other way. According to Rav Misharshia, we do not have rules like this. Minol leila Rav Misharshia. Now, where does Rav Misharshia get this from? How does he know we don't have rules? Maybe it comes from the following Mishnah. Rabbi Shimon says, Rabbi Shimon said earlier that what is this case similar to? This was the case where there's an overlap of tchum. So you have three people and one guy in the middle, his tchum overlaps with the two people on the outside, but the two people on the outside, they can't share with each other, but they can share with the guy in the middle. So Rabbi Shimon had said it's similar to having three chatzeros right next to each other, and they all have their own entryway into Rosh Hashanah, so they don't aser one on the other. Now you want to carry from one to the other. So erev ushtayim hachitzonos im ha'emtzais. If the two outer ones make an erev with the middle guy, he mutaris ima and vehin mutaros ima. That chatzer is mutter with the outer ones, and the outer ones are mutter with the middle one. Ushtayim hachitzonos asuro zuimzu. But the two outer ones are also with one another. That was what Rabbi going on the tchum case. V'yamer Rav Chama bar Guria Marav, and Rav Chama bar Guria said in the name of Rav, halacha Rabbi Shimon. The halacha is like Rabbi Shimon. Uman Polagoleh, who argued with Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Yehuda? It was Rabbi Yehuda. So there you see, Amret Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Shimon, halachik Rabbi Yehuda. You just said a rule before that any time it's Rabbi Yehuda against Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Yehuda wins. But here we have a case where Rav says that Rabbi Shimon wins. Elolav shmamina lesnu. So you see that this rule is meaningless. It doesn't mean anything because here's an exception to the rule. Now, how do we know Rabbi Yehuda argues with Rabbi Shimon in that case? Rashi has two explanations to that. Man polagoleh Rabbi Yehuda du avistam bar plukse. Rashi first says, in general, we know Rabbi Yehuda is generally the one who argues with Rabbi Shimon. Lishna achrina, another version is, man polagoleh Rabbi Yehuda. How do we know Rabbi Yehuda argues? Duhu ayri le'el mineh minah. Rabbi Yehuda omer le'ezer ruach sheyirtze. Rabbi Yehuda right before is mentioned in that Mishnah. Ve'alot tani hayushnayim mixas v'chulu am Rabbi Shimon lemah davar domeh. Right after Rabbi Yehuda makes his statement in that Mishnah, that's when Rabbi Shimon says this statement that it's similar to three chatzeros. And the idea is that what Rabbi Shimon is saying to the Rabbanan is as follows: Michti lemah davar doma v'chulu ma'ishna hasam depligisu aleh. He's saying, Rabbi Shimon is saying it's similar to this case. So why do you argue over there? Why would you argue over there and not over here? You see what Rabbi Shimon is saying? Rabbi Shimon is saying to these Rabbanan, you same rabbis, meaning you Rabbi Yehuda, who are discussing this issue of the Dalet Amos of the person's tchum, you argued with me also by chatzeros. That's basically what Rabbi Shimon is saying. So since Rabbi Shimon is responding to Rabbi Yehuda in that Mishnah, and he's bringing this case, the implication is Rabbi Yehuda argues in this case as well, and Rav said the halach is like Rabbi Shimon. So you see from there that the rule is not true. We don't always pass like Rabbi Yehuda over Rabbi Shimon. So if you're going to say that's the source of Rabbi Misharshia, that's not really a good source. Umay kushya, that's not so difficult. Dilma hecha deitmar itmar hecha de lo itmar lo itmar. Maybe if there was an explicit statement that the halacha is like Rabbi Shimon in a particular case, fine. In that case, the halacha might be like Rabbi Shimon over Rabbi Yehuda. The rule just is, if there's no clear-cut psak halacha, then the rule is we follow Rabbi Yehuda over Rabbi Shimon. That wouldn't be so difficult. So we still need a source for Rabbi Misharshia. How does Rabbi Misharshia know that these rules don't mean anything? Rather, the way Rabbi Misharshia knows comes from the following Mishnah. Ir shel yochid v'nasa shel ram. Let's say you have a city, it was a small city, and it becomes a larger city. Ma'arvin es kula. You can make an Eruv in the entire city. Shal Rav and Menasa shal Yachid. Let's say it was a larger city, it became a smaller city. Now Rashi here will explain exactly what we're talking about, but that Rashi doesn't appear until the next Amud. But in any case, the case here is it's a larger city becomes a smaller city. Ein Ma'arvin es kula. You cannot make an Eruv for the whole city. Elam ken osa chutzala ki ir chadasha sheb Yehuda. Unless outside of it you have the size of a new city in Yehuda, sheyesh ba chamishim diurin, which has 50 residents. Divrei Rabbi Yehuda, that's the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. Again, this will all be explained in the next Amud. Rabbi Shimon says, and we'll continue this discussion in the next video on Daf Mem Zayin Amud Aleph.